The employment of African Caribbean and Black women is seminal to the response, and also seminal to Ontario's response to the greater meaningful involvement of people living with HIV. But what I also noticed in working in the field is many of the women that I worked with were experiencing burnout. They were balancing multiple roles, figuring out what their boundaries were. And what really was relevant is I heard a lot of stories about back home and how they couldn't do those back home ways of working. But in doing the study, I found that more needed to be done. So what I felt is it had to be turned into mobilized in a way that people would see it. So in listening to the women, I heard poetry. So I turned what they told me into what I call poetic retellings. And those poetic retellings I turned into a play called Because She Cares. And what we've been doing is presenting that play to AIDS service organizations in order to generate conversations about the work, and it's particularly about African Caribbean Black women's experiences in the work. Using funding from the Women's College Hospital Women's Xchange project, we are taking this play across Ontario and hosting post-performance discussions, or what we call kitchen table talks. At these kitchen table talks, we discuss HIV-related employment and how such work can benefit and be harmful to the care and well-being of African Caribbean and Black women who work in AIDS service organizations.
Most of the things that have come up are the issues of racism, issues of not being able to practice in a way that you used to do when you were in another country, especially home countries, and having to adjust, whether you're a social worker or whether you're not a social worker, you're a volunteer or a peer, just having to navigate around boundaries, conflict of interest, but feeling that you're not adequately providing the support that you want to from your heart, because there's legal issues or your job description doesn't fit in with what you're providing. But also, I've heard women talk about the opportunity to have those issues discussed in a theoretical way without being attacking organizations or naming people, but bringing it in as a conversation that people can try and identify the gaps and how best to develop strategies to address those issues.
We talk about what we used to do and how we used to chat, about HIV, what is happening, how we are managing freely. So when I talk about like that same thing to other HIV positive, hey, do you remember Africa? This and this happened. Do you remember? The frustration comes in. Not everybody is free to acknowledge what I am saying. Yeah. But at the same time, I love what I do, frustrating as it might be, because I care.
Using performance, plays, spoken word, poetry, this is a way to engage people with the knowledge. And also doing so is a kind of a back home ways for me. I'm of Caribbean descent. We learn through stories. So why wouldn't we share the findings of research from African Caribbean Black women using storytelling approaches too? I think we as researchers need to use back home ways of knowing in the way we generate research and also transmit it as well. I conducted this project and I continue to do so because I care.
I enrolled to perform in this project because I care.
I care because greater involvement means there's nothing for us without us.